Let me put this on here and put that microphone on because it's a good thing that I've got that little indicator down there. That's part of maybe what tonight's broadcast is all about is discipline and making sure that routines and all that stuff is and habits are in place so you make less mistakes. So welcome anyway, October 22nd, 2024. My name is Joey Ragona. We are here for Heart-Centered Marketing, another episode where we just talk about all kinds of cool things about marketing and building your business, heart-centered way, and helping you move forward so you're not distracted and you are going in the right direction so you can impact the world or your corner of the world the way that you want to. Thank you for being here. If you're here live, let me know with hashtag live or a hashtag replay. I'm just going to look down here on my iPad here and make sure that I am seeing, hopefully I can see. There we go. I'm going to go into this event here. And let me turn down. Okay. So technology is fun, isn't it? Let me know hashtag live or hashtag replay if you're watching us right now. And if you want to comment, give me some questions that I can answer. Enjoy the conversation or get involved in the conversation. That would be epic. I can see most of the comments now coming in right now. So let me talk about this. There are, in my mind, there are two different things or two main categories or two buckets that can drive your business. And it can either drive your business to the ground or it can drive your business forward. So it can either break your business or build your business. Now, these are my words. And I think that just you can use any words because there's combinations of all these words that will still work. I had a Facebook post and asked this question a little bit earlier on and had some excellent answers for alternate words that I could be using. But these are the ones that really stick out in my mind because these are the two that I have been personally affected by. And the first one is distraction. So distraction is one of those things, obviously, that can break your business. The more distracted we are, the more that we're bouncing around all over the place. And the second one on the other side, the opposite side to build your business is something called discipline. And discipline, thank you for I don't know who you are, but thank you for thumbs up. Good to see you here. So discipline is the other one. Now there's all kinds of different words, like I said, that we could use for this. It doesn't matter. The semantics of it doesn't really matter. Whatever resonates with you. But, there's habits, there's all kinds of other things. But to me, discipline is about habits underneath it. And we'll talk a little bit about that and why it's important. But these are the two words that have affected me in the last really 5 years. But knowing this, I'm sure that what I'm going to talk about today is nothing new. It's actually putting these things into action and or recognizing like how distracted you actually are. Same here. I'm completely distracted in a lot of ways, but because I'm now driven by discipline, and I'll talk about this in a second, it's really hard, especially as an entrepreneur, all of my life, completely driven by distraction because not only am I ADD, that's actually the title of Dr. Hollowell's book, I think, Driven by Distraction. Maybe that's why he calls it that. So, and it's so hard to get out of that. And one of the ways that I'm distracted is by checking email. And it's just like it's a habit. It's a bad habit where when there's a gap in what I'm doing, even if it's opening a program, waiting for a program to open or something to happen, in those milliseconds, I used to default to go into opening up email and just checking it or looking at the inbox and, just waiting to see if something is there that I need to react to. And that is a bad discipline. It's a bad habit. And so we have to moving out of those bad habits, those distractions, in order to discipline ourselves to move forward. So in the impact of distraction on your business, what it's going to do for you is, or what it will do to your business is there is a lack of focus on core objectives. I don't know what your core objectives are, but you need to know what those are. You need to know what's going to move the needle in your business because if you're distracted, you're wasting time on non-essential tasks. And there's ways around this. Building teams, getting automation. We'll talk a little bit about that today too. So recognizing where you are in that distraction phase. I'd love to know yourself. I'm going to keep looking down here at the iPad, by the way. Hey, Lorna, I see you live. I don't know why thanks for being here, Lorna. I don't know why as soon as the comments come in, they kind of disappear. It sucks. So I have to keep on looking down. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking down on my iPad to see if I don't miss any of the comments. And so when you're distracted, there's likelihood of errors because you have to go back. So if you're working on anything, it doesn't matter what it is. And even if you're not completely focused on something and you're working a little bit on something for a couple of minutes and you move over to open your email, like I used to do all the time, and then you go back, you forget where you were or you have to reread it, which is wasting a lot of time. But there's a likelihood of a lot of errors when you are distracted, right? And you cannot get the completion of important projects. And for anybody who knows me, I have, countless projects that are sitting in my Notion database right now, moved over from ClickUp. I tried, you name it, everything to try and get projects under wraps and try to get them going. But when I started moving, actually taking this into as a law, as part of who I am, part of the business, and really putting myself into the disciplinary actions. A couple of years ago, I couldn't believe how many projects were sitting in ClickUp because I moved it over to Notion. And that was one of the disciplines, was picking one tool and just sticking with it and going with it. It doesn't matter which tool you use. But when I moved over all of those projects and seeing how many there were that were never getting done, it was because I was distracted. It was because I was moving on. Hey, natural lifestyle. This is a topic I'm struggling with at the moment, distractions and overwhelm at my tasks. Hit me with your question. Like, let me know what you were distracted with, and I can walk you through, give you some ideas here. Okay? You're not the only one. We're all distracted in some way, shape, or form, and the discipline of moving away from that it's not easy to do. I'll tell you this, but it's because you have to be very aware of what you're doing, and once you're aware of it, putting necessary things into action. I'll give you an example of this. I'll jump around. So when I'm doing a focus, one of my biggest things that I've been doing since 2012, which is great, which is focus sessions. And you've probably heard of this before, 50-minute focus, Pomodoro method. And that's one of the ways that I've been able to get some progression in my business up until about 5 years ago. And from 5 years ago now, or maybe 3-4 years ago, it's been really ramped up because I've been putting in the discipline. So I've amplified it using discipline. But let me talk to the focus for a section. The 50-minute focus is where you turn off all distractions and you focus on one thing for 50 minutes. For me, it's 50 minutes. Some people say 25 minutes, whatever it is for you. And there's a little app that I use called Focus. I think it's Focus. I'm going to look at it right now. It's called Focus app on the Mac. There's other ones too. And the reason I use this one, and there's other ones that will do this too, but this is the key ingredient. This is what I told one of my clients the other day, and she was like blown away by this one little thing, like, oh my God, that's going to change the game for me. But it actually blocks the websites that you don't want to go to, websites that you find yourself going to, for example, Facebook, or going onto YouTube or something. So when I press that focus button and it starts the countdown timer for me, it automatically blocks Facebook. So because I know that sometimes I just will naturally go to Facebook to maybe look at my group and see what's going on or something like that, which will distract me. And so just putting that little electronic or digital blocker in place has helped me because it resets my brain. And it's uncanny how much that works, because now I find myself not really going to look, or the habit is being reformatted or changing the habit. So when I'm doing a focus session, I know it's not that I don't want to automatically the motor skill to go open up Facebook or something to look at the group or whatever, but it's less. And I can see that in another 30 to 60 days, that habit will be completely changed. It will be like, no, I'm in a focus session. I've got nothing going on. I don't need to go check anything except for doing the thing that I'm doing right here. And it's because of one little app. And like, again, there's millions of apps out there. Just look for one that gives a countdown timer and allows you to block certain things that you can't. It just stops you from when you're in that focus time. So let me talk about how building or discipline builds the business. It's because you have a constant progression towards the goal. I know it's like, this is nothing that's new, but how many times have you found yourself weeks later and looking back and saying, well, I didn't even get that done? Well, I bet you that if I parachuted into your life and looked at your calendar and looked at your days, that I would find all of the areas that you were distracted. And we're going to get into some things here, distraction, that is going to be counterintuitive. But that's one thing. And you probably, the time management and productivity is suffering there because you're not being able to make decisions based on what you're focused on. You're being distracted. When you are distracted, you don't have the focus. You don't know what's broken. And a lot of times when we get into distractions, sometimes by habit, it's because we're frustrated with what we're doing. Okay. I don't know about you, but let me know if this is true for you. But it's when we're focused on one thing, we're figuring it out, it's a creative process or something we're doing, and then we're stuck. And we're stuck on it, so we get frustrated. And we're just sitting there. And that's where I got into the habit of, okay, well, I don't know what the answer is right now. And instead of sitting in the problem, sitting and letting my subconscious work or my brain work or just letting some air into the whole process, I would be opening up different things, opening up my email, opening up the Facebook and all that, and just like filling the time and not allowing myself to think. And so that is a huge problem. We don't schedule time to think, or we don't even give ourselves time to think. We're always trying to fill in. And again, when I say we, it's me. It's like, I don't know about you, but I'm speaking about my clients because I think we're all the same. At least I know them intimately. So I know that that's what their problem is too. And we're trying to fix it. So I'm trying to, let you know that these are things that you may not realize. That if you're not allowing yourself to think, then you are developing a habit that is a distraction habit because you don't want to sit in frustration. But sometimes there's a good frustration. And if you're not sitting in frustration to figure out what the problem is, and you're distracting yourself by going to do other things, you don't know what's broken. And that's where a lot of times I see entrepreneurs bringing in different things. It could be even as simple as, well, this sales process doesn't work. What's wrong with it? And instead of sitting with the problem, we'll bring in other things to try and go around the problem. Oh, it's maybe because I don't have this software, or I don't have another product. Maybe I'll go build another product, right? So we get stuck in that other thing to distract us, to move us away. Lorna, okay. Hey, Collie, I see you. I wish I could keep these things popping up or on screen. I got to figure out how to do that, but at least I'm seeing the comments now from Facebook. I am low on thinking time. I think a lot, but still don't spend enough time 100% concentrating on thinking. Yeah. I like Pomodoro. Sometimes they're 20 or 30 minutes instead of 50 minutes. Right on. Whatever works for you. The concentrated thinking, it's so tough because we get so frustrated. And here's another thing where has helped me. I do a daily Calm, and it's actually an app on my phone. It's called Calm, and it's called Daily Calm. And all it is it's kind of a meditation, and it's like a 10-minute thing where you just reset, do this 10-minute meditation. So I highly recommend that generally I'm sorry, everybody here, get into that, where if you're frustrated, instead of going into distraction and you don't want to think, or your brain needs a little bit of time, give it a rest. And that's where you can reset, or sometimes the answers come to you when you're in that meditation state or just chilling. So let me talk about the role, technology. This is where technology contributes to distractions. And you probably heard this before, but digital notifications, they are huge in distractions. So emails, chats, social media, all those things. Here's the thing. I've known this, and you probably have known this for years too, but really, if I ask you now, is your notifications off on your phone? Are they off on your desktop? They were not for me on my phone. On my desktop, I haven't had email pop up, in the little corner thing. I don't know, at least a decade. I never get an email notification on my phone, which is why I got into the habit of actually going in and checking, which might be worse, right? So I developed a different habit. And I'll come back to the email in a second of how I'm getting out of that bad habit. But yeah, it actually ties in, because in the last month, it's only been about a month now, where I've been training my new EA. And that's been a really awesome process. Okay. We meet every single day, and she is helping me define discipline. And we're looking at processes and all these other things. But the discipline is that she owns my calendar and she owns my mail, which is very, very difficult as an entrepreneur. And I got to credit Dan Martell for this, because that if it wasn't for him, I would not be here learning this and sharing it with you too. So by the way, plug out to Dan Martell and Buy Back Your Time, which is a fantastic book. It's one of the Bibles that I have been using now for the last almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. And anyway, so that's where the discipline comes in. So because of that reason, because of me making that choice, and it was a hard choice. It's like going cold turkey. It was like, you know what? You own the calendar. You own the inbox. And so what I had to do was make it harder for me to see notifications on my phone that I would actually go in and look at, right? And then open it, and then it would screw everything up. So I had to take off. So I decided to take off the notifications on my phone, and even for my chat, for anything coming in LinkedIn, like all those things coming in, zero distractions. I no longer have any notifications coming in on my phone. So if you've been with me for the last like 5 years and you're used to, you sending a message and all of a sudden I'm kind of right there, that's the reason why. And I don't have the notifications coming off anymore. Not because I don't love you, right? It's not because of that. It's because I'm in discipline now. This is the time I'm able to focus in on going in and having chat messages or reading emails or whatever that is, while I'm disciplined and I'm focused on doing this other thing on the off time, because that chat would come in or the ding would come in and I would be completely distracted and getting into conversation or whatever it is. So those no longer happen. And that's a discipline. So it's a process that's in play right now that is getting results for me on the back end of the business. And then eventually, the team is able to navigate things. It doesn't mean I don't get notices, but if there's something really going on, I'll still get notices. But that's one of the things. 1 second. Collie. It's like my yoga instructor used to say, sit on the mat. What does it say here? Sit on the mat until you burn it off. Too often we run away when we need to sit. Yeah. To be with what is to face the frustration. Yes, I just interviewed her yesterday. 82 years young. Wow. And very wise soul. Sit on the mat and burn it off and then make a move. Love and soul. Yeah. 100%. I love it. So Lorna says, when I worked on the Red Cross, I had to be diligent about email. I looked at it the first thing in the morning, about 11 a.m., maybe after lunch, and if there was a convoy I needed to keep up with, and then at the end of the day, other than that, it was closed. That was the only way it would work for me to keep on track with what was getting done. Yeah, so what's changed, Lorna? Like, what's changed for you now? Are you distracted by email or not? Or am I the only one here? Because I know I was. And, even to this day, I still go once in a while, a couple times during the day, I'll see the email. I might open the thing, but I don't click on it and I don't look at it anymore to like mark it as read or anything like that. So I'm getting into the habit of, nope, Kat's going to take care of this. That's her job. Leave it alone, and then redirect my my attention, because this is the thing. When productivity people, or when I was taught before certain things, it would be like, you need to change this now, and like everything needs to change now. And I don't know about you, but it's very difficult for us to change a habit like overnight. You just can't stop. Even when now working out every day on the treadmill, it's like, well, sometimes I skip it. Sometimes I miss the day. I'm not going to give up on it. And it's like, well, there goes that, which I used to do. And it's the same as discipline. It's building a habit based on a new habit, and being very aware of what the distraction is. I think that's the most important thing. What is the distraction? So turn off your digital notifications. So let me see, what did Lauren say? My phone is on do not disturb during the day. That's amazing. Okay, so family numbers, yes. That's a good idea too. Do not disturb it. Why didn't I think of that? So apps, notifications don't come through except for on the occasion. That's amazing. That is so cool, Lorna. Yeah, I just actually went into the apps and turned off notifications. I just just go on do not disturb. Duh. Okay. So there you go. I just learned something. That's amazing. So even multitasking during the day, multitasking is one of the worst distractions you could do. You know, the more you bounce between things, the worse it's going to be. And this is where that whole sitting in the problem is a habit we need to employ. Like it's part of progression. The breakthrough may or may not happen, but it's sitting in the problem. Way too often we just let go of something very quickly. We hit a wall, we hit something, and we're like, oh, I'll just move on to something else. Let me fill this time. I'm here anyway at work or whatever it is. At least that was for me. And so that led me to develop that habit of distraction, right? And I would go back hours and hours later, sometimes days later, and go, "Oh my God, this tab is still open." Like, I totally forgot I was doing that because I wanted to fill the time that I felt I was wasting by sitting on the mat, right, Collie? Like sitting on the mat. Like so, I was just so that's part of the digital distraction. I talked about the focus app. I'm just looking at some of the notes here that I have that I wanted to talk about, and automation tools. Like now with AI technology, it's fantastic in order to streamline repetitive tasks. So even now that I have the team doing certain things, we are still looking at, okay, what's distracting you? Okay, so because they're taking a part of the cognitive load off of my brain doing things that they are really skilled at doing and that I should not be doing. But at the same time, I don't want them distracted either. So when you're looking at your business, look at all of the repetitive tasks that an automation can do better than you, like a computer can do better than a human, period. Calculation stuff, moving, repetitive tasks here and there. Zapier, there's a Relay app is one of my favorite apps to be using to connect things, and using that technology of what can I take out of my process, even the human in the loop. So now I have we'll talk about SOPs in a second, like all those SOPs, and we're looking at all of those steps, but we're always looking at where can we automate this piece so we don't have to do it. I'll give you an example of this because this just happened, I think, on today's call. There's a simple thing that we do is we are in my daily meeting with the EA, we'll go through notes and all that, and then we'll get a summary from Zoom. And if you don't know that, Zoom gives a automation or a great summary. It's one of the best summary tools that is automatically with Zoom I've ever seen. So it takes notes and it summarizes what's going on with the meeting and all that. So we will take that and we'll paste it into Notion, and it also has a recap. Okay, the little recap at the top of it. So I wanted the recap to be inside of a property as well. So when I can see it in the flow, I can see, what was the recap of this meeting. So if I see it all in a table view, I can see the recap. And that was a copy and paste procedure. I know this may sound like, well, what's the big deal about this? But it is a big deal because it takes a lot of stuff off of your plate. And this is what I mean by automation. So we used to just copy and paste that piece, which would take 1.2 seconds or whatever. Anyway, and then go into the property and paste it, right? Copy, paste, no big deal. But that's 1 or 2 seconds every single day that might add up. And over time, when you got all those little things happening in all of the processes throughout all the day, it adds up. So we created an automation in Notion that just, when you click the button, it will automatically go into the thing, grab the paragraph that we want and put it in there. And that's what I mean by looking at what are we doing here that we could get me, the human, out of the loop here so I can go do something else. And that's what I'm talking about, where that's a distraction, even though that's part of this is what we're going to do. It's still a distraction piece. So how can we make it a discipline now where we're putting this in, hitting that button and going off and doing something else? Okay. Making sense? Let me go back to here. Lorna, I ask myself every day, why I can't be that disciplined with my email. I've made some progress. I will close it when I want to concentrate. I still look at it more often than is needed. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, Lorna, for you. The answer for me was by having somebody else be, kind of like watching over it. And every time we would go into the email that I would open, because I would open it, right? And if I click on it, it obviously would mark as read. Yes, I can change it back to mark as not read or whatever. But if I did it on Spark on my phone, which was a different program because I don't use the Gmail, it would not do that. So I could still mark it. But anyway, you get what I mean. So then it would be a trigger. So when we would go in every day and we would look at the emails, there would be ones that were already read, and it would be like, oh, Joey, you already read this one, so I didn't deal with it. I'm like, no, you're supposed to be dealing with that, right? So the process of what I needed the team to do was not happening because of me, right? Like I was the problem. I was the bottleneck. Okay. So that's what I mean is I don't know what the answer is for you, Lorna. It might be, something different, but for me, it was having that other person to answer to, like, oh, I already opened that. And then it's like, well, wasn't I supposed to be doing this? So that was a really good discipline to put in play. And that's the reason why I'm talking about discipline now. So even, using, looking at the emails now, I leave it all up to her. So I'm not 100% there, but I'm really close. So maybe there's a way that you could turn off the notifications and not be distracted. Or if you're using Gmail, Lorna, then are you using Gmail? If you were using Gmail on your browser, then if you use Focus app, then you can actually stop it from opening up Gmail, right? You can just block Gmail when this timer is on. That's what I mean by using technology. I think I hit a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Time tracking software, that's where you are. The Focus app is really cool because when I was looking at hiring people to do certain projects or certain things, then I was doing it myself and I was tracking it for myself. And not only was it in a focus time, but I also know how long things take. So then when you hire other people, you can basically get an idea of how long things should take once they get the idea of what it's all about, right? So this is kind of a bonus to having a time tracking tool or a time tracker in place, is knowing exactly how long things will take you so that when you hand it off, nobody else is doing it longer because there's something wrong. And nobody's going to be like you, but at the same time, they're going to be probably better than you are. And if you get the right people, okay? So let's talk a little bit about SOPs, and then we'll end today's conversation unless there's more questions. By the way, let me know if you hear with a hashtag live or a hashtag replay. I'd love to know. Let me just see here. Any more comments here? No? Okay, cool. The SOPs, right? Standard operating systems and processes are wildly important because they will distract you, like what's in your brain. Not only will it help you with the business building and teams and bringing all that in, but your brain is holding a lot of stuff in there. And that's distraction. As soon as somebody comes to you and says, how did I do this again? Or what do I do in this situation? That's distraction. And even yourself, you are distracting yourself. I promise you that, because that's what was happening to me. Because when I was doing whatever it was, how do I start the live stream? What do I do in the live stream? What do I do first? Do I press record, or do I press this? Or I forget to choose the microphone, or I forget to turn on the microphone, like whatever it is, right? You're distracting yourself from the task at hand. And so when you have a checklist and an SOP, a standard operating process or procedure, then that cognitive load is gone, and you just follow those things and you can make those things better. That's where you can look at inserting automation and all those other things. But that is a distraction. Everything in your head is a distraction. Your brain is not made to hold information. Your brain is made to create. It's to think. It's to look at problems and have a space, not to hold. It's not a filing cabinet. Your brain is not a filing cabinet. And that's what distraction is, because you've got all this stuff going on in your head. Right now, we have over 300 SOPs or processes and templates, like all built in together. And that's just growing and growing. And it's only because, and these are things that used to be in my head. Think about that. And each one of those, some of those have 10, 15, 20 steps. Think about that for a second. And I would imagine it's the same for you. I would imagine that you have a lot of stuff going on in your head that if you wrote it out, you would be flabbergasted of how much you were actually holding on into your head. And the moment, I promise you, the moment you release it, you will feel completely different, completely just, wow, I don't have to remember that anymore. Now, here's the other cool thing about this. When you're building these SOPs or this process and you're writing everything down, you're documenting things. Like I just taught my group, my private group today, the dream system framework. And the first D, the D is for documenting everything. And I mean everything, documenting everything. That is a discipline. It's getting into a discipline, which is one that I picked up and started doing like almost 2 years ago, which was turning on the recorder of everything that I do and just recording it, documenting. And that process has saved me for so long. Because now that the team is there, what you can do is when they ask you a question, instead of repeating yourself again and again and again, you can point them to the SOP. Say, oh, okay, did you follow that SOP? Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you step number 4, whatever in the SOP? And so that releases the distraction, because as a business owner, as a leader, what will happen is your team will sometimes rely on you. They'll come to you for the answers. Say, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. And we end up wanting to fix the problem. We end up saying, okay, well, here's how you do this, right? Because we haven't documented it. We haven't told them or haven't recorded something, getting out of our head, which is a discipline, to go do this. And then you're disciplining them. Not disciplining, you're making it a discipline for them to go and look somewhere else for the problem before they come to you. And that eliminates the distractions, right? So everybody knows on my team now that, okay, well, if I got to go over here and look at the area to see if it's there first, then I'll bother Joey, right? So that's where the levels of me being that point of like the bottleneck, or like, let me go ask Joey what the thing is. Here's how it's going. And I'm not saying you don't train anybody or just leave them on their own. That's not what I'm saying. But at some point, you're constantly sitting at the hub of your business, and all of these things are coming in. Your team is doing this. The email's coming in. All of these things are distracting you from actually doing the thing that's going to build your business, which is the discipline to be able to say no to the right things. Okay? Hopefully this helps you. Thank you for being here. I'm super excited to talk about this. I don't need your email. Outlook. I was just about to say notifications are off because I don't get notifications. I just realized that the notification I get in the taskbar. Yes, that's what I'm saying, Lorna. So if you're using Outlook, turn off that notification in your taskbar. Removing it now. Good. Okay. Next step after that will be to resist the temptation to look at it every time I stop thinking. Yeah, that's the hard one, Lorna. Like, let me know how it goes. Like, when we're frustrated or bored, like, what are we going to do? I'm going to go check my email and see if there's anybody else who needs my attention rather than me focusing on what I really need to go do. That was my problem. Like, let me go fix other people's problems except my own. Let me just focus in on this project I'm doing, and I would go look for other people to tell me what to do. And that's what email really is all about. That's why it's really cool to put in, filters and all this. And, that's the other thing with email, because in the last little while, hey, Colin, let me just take a swig of water here. In the last 2 weeks, just focusing on email, I had over 7,000 unread emails, and it's down to 0 now. Okay. And all of the stuff that we did, I think maybe it was 3 days that it took us to do that. There are filters now built in place, and we have unsubscribed from so many different things. I can't tell you how freeing it is. I mean, it's a process. It's something where you look at this thing and go, wow, 7,000 emails. Wow, I just don't want to go through this. And I spent 3 or 4 days, a couple of hours each, like a few hours. I would say it was probably 12 hours or so straight, if I put it all together, just sorting through emails, deleting whatever, and doing this stuff. And then once I did that, like in the inbox, got it down to a relative 50 or so, And then from there, me and Kath, we went through it every single day. We still go through it every single day. And we have a system built in, like, okay, if this happens, then this is what we'll do, or this happens. And then, or we maybe even put it into a filter, or we put it into automation, or she has something manually to do something like that. And that's taken another, couple of hours, 1 hour a day or something in the last couple of weeks. But look at that. So if you look at less than a whole month, your entire email system is completely organized. It's taken care of. You don't see I don't see any distractions anymore. I don't see emails coming in unless I am assigned to them. That's the job of what the assistant will do. And you can even have automation do this for you too. You can look at Relay app, which is one of the ones I love using, like I told you, that will do a lot of this stuff too. And so I'm doing that for my assistant, is I'm putting that into play. So it is taking her out of that loop as well, so she can go do other things without just doing repetitive tasks in email. So it's all there for you. Everything's there for you. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week on another Heart-Centered Marketing Show. Next week, I believe I have my awesome friend Lauren coming in, Lauren Jano, and she's awesome. Wait till you hear this discussion with her next week. And if you're in Academy, by the way, we have her all to ourselves before the show. So you're going to have a double dose there of Lauren, a little bit more intimate, up and close and personal. If you're in Academy, we'll see you there next week. And if not, that's cool. We'll see you here next week at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for another Heart-Centered Marketing Show. Take care. Bye-bye.